This is Planet Band. I'm Nick Liebel. I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Kurt Kissinger. We have Matt Stein with us behind the glass. And today we're venturing to Planet Kirkpatrick. And so, Kurt, every single time we are at a NCIBA function or IBA function, we are always looking to see if this person is around.
That's right. We hope to see.
We hope to see
Jeff. Yeah.
We hope to see Jeff. So, Jeff Kirkpatrick of Osage, welcome to Planet Band.
Thanks for having me. It'll be fun.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, you said earlier you're entering year 40 of, that's total teaching, right?
Right, 40 years. Yep.
So
Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Survival.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, in your resume or your bio that you sent me, you just left a few big things out. That, like, for example, that you've gone to IBA 6 times, amongst other awesome accomplishments. But looking back, a good place to maybe start is what's been meaningful. What stands out to you when you're looking back?
Well, I guess I'm really proud of the work we've done in Osage over these years. Trying our best to make great music with kids and helping kids become better people and great musicians all at the same time. So the performances we played at IBA I'm very proud of that. That's awesome stuff. It's hard to get to that level. It's hard to perform at conference to make that all happen. But probably equally we could put there is that we've earned a Division I state large group consecutive since 1956. And so,
Outstanding.
Yeah, that's previous to my time, of course, but we've not let down, and we don't always get perfect scores, but I don't think that's important. I think it's important we get ones from all 3 judges, which we have done every year except one. One year we played at IBA, and one of the judges gave us a 2, but I think that person was just saying, you need to play the whole first suite a little better. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll take that. So those are the most prideful moments, I guess. The other thing I think, in speaking of NCIBA, is twice I've been nominated as the Carl King Distinguished Award winner for active, and I appreciate that. That's my peers saying they notice the work we do, and they were kind enough to nominate me. I didn't win the state level, but that's really hard.
And well earned.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
So, that's awesome. So you take over Osage in 1987.
Kind of. Okay. So give me a little history how I got to Osage. So I started teaching in actually February 1, 1985 at Rockwell Swelldale. February 1 started. That's a weird time, but anyway. So I taught there until the spring of 87 when I was hired to teach 5/8 band in Osage. So I went to Osage in 87 in the fall, started 5/8 band. The high school director at that time was a guy named Mike Peterson. He came there at the same time. And so we worked 5 years together. And then after 5 years, I took over at high school when he left. And then we hired this young gal named Lori Hepner on to teach middle school band. And eventually she allowed me to marry her, and we fell in love. And so that was part of that. And we've been the team since then.
Awesome.
The job changed at some point. It was 5/8 band, 9/12 band, but then, like many school districts, downsizing, reducing enrollment, and so we lost one full music faculty. And so then I switched to 7/12 band, and Lori does 5 and 6 band now, and high school choir, which is a big switch, but she's very good at that. And so that's continued to be successful.
And it's been that way for a while.
It has been there for a while,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Right, yes. And so that's one of the things that's difficult, was that transition time, was learning how to teach middle school again, and not done that for a while, because it's not the same as high school. Sometimes they say it's like junior high. It's not. Middle school is completely different, but you all know this. It's a different set of animals, and I love middle school kids, but you just need to work with them in a little different way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a somewhat of a difficult transition.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Osage, the first 5 years I talked about here, I was middle school, and then Mike was high school. That's when we put in some things that we still use now. Some of the things we use for warm-ups in the high school band, some of the infrastructure things, how we do pep band, all that stuff. Can I go ahead? I'm going to talk about quality program and what sort of makes Osage, I think, a quality program. I'm going to talk about some of those big core elements that I think are critical. So if you want to have a really successful band program, what I believe, first of all, is the concert band is the central core, and everything circulates around concert band. That's where you make the most music. That's where the really wonderful learning happens. That's where you really get kids to learn how to become musicians. And I think that's part of that. Other things are all around that. I think you try to do quality other stuff, whether it be marching band and jazz band. You try to have a positive pep band experience. You try to have all those things be positive, but concert band's the core. So to make that happen at the high school level, you need to have concert band every day. The second thing you need to have is you need to have a lesson program that supports kids to be able to play well. In Osage, we have a pull-out lesson program. We have the Cadillac. That means that kids come for once every cycle. In high school, it's once or two kids in a lesson group for half a class period, once every 6 days, and they can come out of math, they come out of social studies, they come out of all the classes. So that's a really important support system or thing in our Osage that works really well. So you got daily band, you have pull-out lessons for middle school and high school. Middle school rehearses every other day, but we're in the morning now. I wish it was every day, but it's just not possible with our school.
How many days are in your cycle?
6.
Got it.
Straight 6-day cycle.
Yep.
And so that works pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
The other big piece, and I think this cannot be overstated enough, is we have tremendous administrative support. They support what our program does and provide us the things that we need to be successful. So they support that lesson program. You know, when teachers come in who aren't happy with kids missing their class, and I wouldn't be either, the principal says, but this is what we do in Osage, is we have a regular pull-out lesson program. And if you have something really important, just keep the kid and they'll do a make-up lesson. We'll all work together. So we have tremendous support. We also have tremendous support financially. They provide resources when what we need. We do some money raising ourselves and provide some of that ourselves. We do all the concessions, for example, at Osage. Music department does. So
all of them.
All of them, not the summer. So all that, and then we give a percentage back to athletics because we're at their events, and so we feel like that's reasonable and fair, but we staff it and we run all that stuff, and so that's a way that we help fund a lot of things we do. So all of those pieces together, I think, help provide a support system and a system that makes it work in Osage. And of course, having longevity as a director.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stability.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard with the small schools now that we see is, you know, somebody's at a place for a year or two. It's hard for a district or a band to thrive or even sort of survive at times with that. And I don't fault people for coming and going. It's just the nature of life, but it's hard for programs.
It's a tough balance too when you are a young director in a district. The balance between I'm going to stay here and make something of this, even though I have these challenges, versus there might be some circumstances out of your control that you know it's not going to become the program you want it to be. So that's a tough decision to make.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And that's exactly what it is. Because there's some places you think, hey, you know what, I like these kids and we're doing some good things, but boy, there's some obstacles that are just not going to allow us to be very successful. And often that comes back to administrative support and deciding if your program's important or not. I like to talk about Osage a lot. Our success is school-wide. It's not just the music department. One of the things that we do, and I talk about this, is we really try to find ways for kids to have the opportunities that they want and not have obstacles to prevent them from doing things. For example, athletics and music and FFA and all the other clubs and all that stuff. How do we find ways for kids to be able to do the things they would like to do and not put obstacles in the way? There's always going to be some. There's always going to be some things, but then we need to work through that. And so I've been really preaching that for years and years and years in Osage. And, you know, sometimes some people have hard time getting that concept that we need to share and work together, and it's for the students' benefit. I know you want to win as a team. We want to be successful in our thing. That's a shared goal. We all want you to be successful. And so, again, Osage does things to try to help everyone make that happen. You have to really advocate for that at times. You want an activities director who really supports that concept and works with you. And generally, we've had that. Not always, but we've get through that sometimes. And sometimes you have to be a little more aggressive in your approach. But, you know, that's all part of it. long as you're talking about kids is the most important thing. Then you can talk about your program as important. But kids are the most important thing. How does that work with all of those different programs? I want our volleyball team to win state, which we've done. I want our basketball teams to win state, which we've done. I want our football team to win. Our wrestling team just won state 2 years in a row. I want all of those things to be successful. I also want us to play well, and I want our kids to really feel like they have a really good experience. We have awesome musicals. We work really hard at that. My wife loves doing that, and I'm the tech guy for that. So I'm involved with the musical no matter what because I'm married to the person who runs it. I don't know if you all know how that is. Yeah. But anyway, so.
It reminds me of a conversation we had not long ago of sometimes you have to compromise, but there are many times where you don't have to compromise. You can find solutions where both activities can get everything they want. Yeah. Right. And it sounds like that's maybe what's happened in Osage and has allowed for excellence in all of those areas.
It's exactly what it is, Kurt. It's about finding ways to make all that balance and again, working for kids.
Yeah.
But it's also involves a face-to-face conversation with you and the coach, you and the activity director, and all that stuff. Say, let's find ways. Can we do this? Can we have them for part of this? And can we do this here? And then helping kids feel like they're okay with that. Sometimes kids are afraid that, I've got this conflict. Well, come tell me about it. Let's talk about that. You don't have to worry about that. Let's figure out, why don't we try it this way? Would that work? Oh, yeah, that'd be good. Okay, well, let's do it this way, and then you come here, and then maybe one of our big obstacles is leads in the musical, because often there are also leads in the volleyball team or someplace like that. So how do you work through it? Well, my wife works through that is they get an individual lesson in the school day during the fall musical season, and then they can work there because they're not going to be there as much at night. But that's a compromise and a solution because they're still being successful, and we're still having opportunity for them to be successful too with us. So that's one of the keys. I'm going to talk a little bit about Osage history. Is that all right?
Please.
Great. Okay, great. So we talk about, we've had these, it's been around for a long time. We're going to be doing the 99th annual spring concert this next spring. So it's been around for a long time. All of the directors that were the high school directors have been very successful musicians. Former presidents of IBA, Frank Pearsall was the director of bands at Iowa State and Iowa, which is a weird thing to have in your resume list.
Yeah.
And he's also a composer. If you've ever done a Frank Pearsall march, they're interesting. He did a lot with Cedar Rapids Municipal Band and all that stuff. The director that we replaced when we came to Osage is a guy named Sid Stott, and Sid was awesome. He was like Grandpa Sid, the kids loved Sid. And that was good, but also it created some challenges when the new person came in because no matter what, you're not going to be Sid. And Mike was not Sid, and neither was I. And so Sid was awesome, and he was around for years in Osage, and he was a mentor for me. So I would visit with him, have him come in sometimes and sub for me for a few years. We had enough distance between when he done and when I became high school director, and he would come do that for a few years, and then until he decided he wasn't comfortable with that anymore, and it was great. I had his granddaughter in band, who was one of our first trumpets, and so it was this whole thing. So we talk about starting a new job, coming to Osage. I taught at Rockwell. I talked about that. So I'm going to talk about the challenge for Jeff, okay? Because I'm not afraid to talk about how the things weren't always successful. One of the things that I needed to learn in Osage was how you deal with Osage kids, because they're not the same kind of kids that you would have in Mason City. They're not the same kind of kids we would have in Rockwell, Swaledale. They were not the same kind of kids. Every group of town has a different feeling and personality. So I'm doing 5/8 band, as I said. The 7/8 band is super awesome when I go there in Osage. I mean, really awesome. They're playing really well. The transition then to the second year is I had about 40% quit. And it was because of me. I hadn't figured out how to interact with Osage kids. And actually, I was being too strict because I didn't want discipline problems in middle school. And I'd had some of that when I first started teaching, like most of us. And so then I thought, well, I'm lay down law. Well, we didn't really, it didn't really embrace me very well. And I didn't embrace them very well. And so that second year then was very difficult. A real come to Jesus point in my life is, how do I need to change? Because you start thinking, what's wrong with these kids? And you think, oh no, it's not what's wrong with the kids. It's what's wrong with me and my style. How do I change my style? So that's when I really learned valuing relationships was the key for everything. And so fifth and especially sixth grade band I was doing at the time, we were having some discipline issues in rehearsal because you know how sixth grade band is. And so we're kind of going through that a little bit. And so then I came up with a thing, and I said to them, you need to understand, when I'm on the podium and we're doing sixth grade rehearsal, I can't be the same way as we are in lessons where we can have conversations and have quieter conversation and all that. I said, it has to be more this way so that we can get things done. And it kind of clicked with them a little bit that, yes, that makes sense, but especially clicked with me. That meant in lessons, I really needed to develop relationships. I needed to talk to kids, find out what they're doing. I needed to go to events when they're participating. Middle school, I need to go middle school basketball games and watch kids play. I need to do those things because I wanted to value the relationship and build a relationship. Then, when you get to rehearsal, they're way more forgiving that you're laying down law, and that really helped. The next thing that I learned here is after we got through all that and that got a lot better, and by the time I got to my fifth year in middle school, it was cooking big time. I mean, the middle school band was quite good, and we had some real players, and so which transitioned well into high school, which is why after the fifth year at the high school is the first time we made IBA. It took that long to get all of that for the very first time, and it takes time because you're figuring out how to teach, how to teach the advanced stuff, how to get everybody to participate. And so that was quite a transition, a difficult thing as we went through, but eventually it worked out well. And then when I went to high school, that was pretty seamless because I had started all of those kids. And then my wife got up to speed really pretty fast, and that went good. So it ended up being real good, but it was hard. Relationships.
I appreciate you not only saying the relationships part, but the nuts and bolts, what you just went through of talk with them in lessons, go to their events. There needs to be an outlet for that, a time and a place for it, and you found it so that when you're on the podium, it's business.
It is.
That's awesome.
One of the things I say to my 7th and 8th graders now is when they come in and they're doing things that 7th and 8th graders do, and I said, come on, and I always want to start playing right away. I said, you're here to play, not listen to me talk. Come on, let's play. Stop messing around. Let's go. Let's play. And so that's a sort of a subconscious thing that I'm putting in their brain all the time is, yeah, I am here to play. That's why I'm here. Yeah, let's play. I'm not here to bother somebody else. So let's play. And so I've been pretty successful with that. I don't have discipline issues with 7th and 8th graders. I have zero. You'd actually be surprised what my rehearsal sounds like there. It's actually silent, and it's not because it's unpleasant. It's just because they're there to work and making music.
Focus.
Yeah, and they're just focused, and we have good work. And so every other day you got to get to it,
That's right.
So what's the balance with like middle school? What's the biggest difference for you then with high school? Like, is there a certain amount of time you spend on the fundamentals? Like, how did you get those middle school kids cooking in 5 years?
It is fundamentals because our warm-up routine is pretty much the same in middle school and high school at some level. I mean, we always play a chorale every day. It's always the first thing. And with middle school, we do the same exact chorale every single day for the first quarter. Then I switch to a different chorale for the next quarter. I want it simple, repetitive, and for them to concentrate on the things. Then you can talk about the things you want. You need to sit up better. You need to have better air supply because, we make a nicer sound. We want to blend together because, it's really hard for 7th graders to learn to play legato. So if you don't work on it, it never gets better. Well, you have to work on it. And so it's a process for the year. And so you keep working on that. And then we do Rhythm, 14 Weeks to a Better Band. Is a book that I've used since I got there, and I had the junior high one. That's just simply unison rhythm studies. And I think that really helps. I don't know about you guys, but rhythm is a real challenge, And so if we can spend time on rhythm and continue to work on rhythm, I'm a firm believer that rhythm is really felt. We learn to know when they see on the page, it feels like this. Or in kids speak, how does it go? Now, you can say and explain, and we do that. What is the theory? What's a dotted quarter note, eighth note? What is that? How's that rhythm? Well, it's 3 eighth notes, and the 4th eighth note's here. It's 2 taps and playing the and. You can do all this stuff. But ultimately, we all see that and go, da, da, da. We know what a dotted quarter eighth feels like. Feels like. So I think unison rhythmic drills help them establish more of a connection for we're seeing this, we're all doing it together, and we understand it, and next time we see that rhythm, we're going to better access that in our memory and know how it's felt before, and helps them learn that better. It's not the end all. I don't have the secret magic on that. If I did, I'd already wrote a book and sold it. But to me, that's part of what we do. So I do the same thing with high school. It's a Bach chorale. It's a rhythm study for the first part of the year, then it's scale studies for later in the year, actually. And then we have some flow studies that we play, which are unison playing things that are fairly technical, that are our own, that we've had since we came to Osage. So we wrote years ago. My friend Mike Peterson wrote them, actually.
Custom.
Yeah, they are custom when we do them. And so that's one of the ways that we raise the technique level for the high school band. It's especially important for our freshmen when they come in, because they don't understand how much speed they're going to need to play with at some point and what technique is. And so one of the things that we do, and I always do this, is I do a little shock treatment on the first day of concert band with my freshmen. Just a little shock treatment, because they didn't know where the level is. And so, we kind of help them. You need the chorale, you need the 14 weeks book on number 1, and then we need these flow studies. And they're kind of fumbling, and they haven't been in concert band. They're kind of trying to get this together, all that, and upperclassmen help them, so they know. Okay, so we play the chorale. I said, okay, and almost always I said, I said, I think we just need to play that again. Let's just try to play more right notes. And so we play that, and kind of that. They already know how to play legato. They did that in middle school. High school band knows how to play. It's chorale number 4 in the 16 chorales.
That Mayhew Lake.
Huh?
Like the Mayhew Lake collection or whatever?
Yep,
okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep, chorale number 4. It's going to be chorale 4. We're going to play that twice. Then we'll do 14 weeks, and it's pretty easy at the first book, as the high school book even is pretty easy right away. That's fine. We're feeling okay then. So then we do flow studies, and we do them full speed. And they have no idea what's coming. And I am deadpan, just like every day. I go, okay, 1, 2, 1, and I've already looked at my snare drum player. He already knows how fast it's going. He already knows, and all the upperclassmen already know what's going to happen. They don't even bat an eye. Every single one of them acts like they're playing every note. The freshmen pretty soon start doing this. What is this? So we go along and we play and all that stuff. And the second day we come back, we'll get to again, we're still going full speed. But now, after that, I said, oh, don't worry, freshmen, we'll slow down and we'll help you learn how to play this, and you'll get a chance to play that. And they kind of go, oh, okay, maybe I'm going to be okay. Yes, but I want them to get this sense, this is how fast we're going to end up playing.
Here's the standard.
Here's the standard. So then the third day, it's da, 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 and my other classroom going, ugh. I said, hey, this is how we learn, and this is how we all get it, because you all need to play it together. You all need to play the right notes. And I said, anybody in the room who at this point still can't play this in your upperclassmen, now's a good time to learn it again and get the more right notes so we can play that together. So, and I do use a pretty loud snare drum with all of that. It's a little bit obnoxious, but I do like it on autopilot, so I literally start it and I don't conduct at all. And you can argue that that's not the right way to do it. It's the way I do it, and I'm okay with it, because I could argue both sides of that. So, and we do that, and so we get through all warm. Eventually, it goes pretty fast, and we through warm-ups pretty quick, but we're doing fundamentals every day.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
that's middle school and high school.
And so, are those flow studies, are those scales, or are those scale patterns, or?
It's based on some music. I think Marriage of Seraglio by Mozart, maybe one of them was based on. I don't know. I've got one flow study that's based on the Vaughan Williams. I have a unison one for the entire band to play that thing that the flutes and clarinets have to try to play. That's pretty hard. And so if we're doing Vaughan Williams, we're playing that pretty early in the year, and we're working that so that the flutes feel like they're going to be able to play that eventually. I will not be playing that next year, by the way, just FYI. So I know where technique level is right now.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Okay. And is that that's after scales, or do you just like pick a different one? So you have a chorale, you have the scales, and then you have the technique.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And scales, we do. It's an old book by Paul Boehm, who was a former band director in Mason City years ago. It's called Sharps and Flats. It's not in print anymore. And so we have that. I have copies of it now. And so, but basically, you could use any book with scales, and it's a system of just playing scales. And so we do that to help them, and eventually we get to hard scales.
Mm-hmm.
But I want them to be good at the keys we play in all the time. And then if we're going to play in key of G, then we need to be playing in the key of G and working on the scale stuff. And that's pretty slow going at first, of course,
Okay. So like what percentage of time? So how long are your rehearsals? And then what percentage?
45 minutes. We're probably 5 to 7 minutes on warm-ups.
Okay.
Maybe longer at the beginning of the year because we have to make time. It's one of the things that's hard, I think, especially at the beginning of the year, is you really want to get to the music. I want to get these pieces. I want to rehearse this. But you have to take the time to spend the time on fundamentals, and that's slow work. And sometimes it's lengthy work on fundamentals, especially when we're talking about playing in tune, intonation skills, how to play in tune, how to identify that. Because I'll go through all of that, and we'll do that slowly. And I do probably what most people do is, okay, here's the pitch. We're going to have these two play. Who can tell me if that sounds in tune or not? Can you hear that? And help kids try to identify there's beats or not beats, what it sounds like it's in tune, how to make the adjustments on your instrument. That all takes a long time. But if you don't do that, you don't ever get there, And so you just got to do it. You just got to take the time. So that's the hard thing for me is I want to rehearse the music. I want to, whatever we're playing. Our December concert, we played 3 Revelations from the Lotus Sutra, Alfred Reed, The Rejoicing. I want to rehearse Alfred Reed. I want to do that. I want to get to that. But I've got to work on intonation. I've got to work on musicality. I got to work on all of that stuff so that we can be successful with the rest of the stuff the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. Do you use your performance music as the vehicle to teach the intonation or musical concepts? At
times,
okay.
I do. Again, the Bach chorale is the musicality component, but then we're rehearsing the music. Then you're working on sections, and then you're really working on the musicality. This is how this line. You need to shape this line this way, And so that's a lot of singing. Sometimes it's playing, and sometimes it's students who are playing. At times, depending what we're doing. Somebody who I think is really doing a nice job with that, who I trust to play great musically. That's a good example. I have a student, Henry, who I would trust musically with anything.
He's the piano player?
Yeah, he's the piano player, 3-year all-state accompanist. He's a senior this fall. He's a fine percussionist, too. So students like that, who are really high-level musicians. Henry, would you play that on the marimba, please? And I said, now listen to what he did with the shaping here. It wasn't all notes the same volume. How are you going to shape that? How are you going to do that line when you have that line? It needs to be the same as this. Yeah, you need to exaggerate it more. Those kind of statements, that we all use, but just willing in rehearsals just to stop and do the nuts and bolts of that and work on that. That's how you get to a high level performance. Is you have to be willing to do the dirty work, which I call that. And then the other thing is, it's starting to sound pretty good. Things are going pretty well. You need to take and break it apart again. And that's hard to do for me. It's hard to do for the students. And so I frame it with my high school band, even middle school too. I said, okay, we have a work day today. Just preparing them mentally that it's going to be start and stop a lot, and we're going to be working on details. There's times, I'll get through 15 measures in an entire rehearsal because we're trying to work on so much of these little details, and nope, that's not good enough. You need to shape this better. No, we got to have this balance. Nope, we're not having the right pitch here. You're playing this out of tune, and get them so they can get the concept. Then you can transfer the rest of the piece, but you got to be able to get it done first.
Is it a lot of feedback or is it a lot of repetition? Both?
Both, yes. My general concept that I have in my brain, and I don't tell kids this, is I make sort of the assumption that they're not going to practice this on their own and they're not going to get better on their own. Now, do some of them do that? Yes, certainly, but some will not. So that means I need to be willing in rehearsal to woodshed, to break it down, work on individual lines, have groups play. I do have individuals play, but of course I'm careful about when I do that and how I do that so the kids don't feel bad about what they're doing. Try to make it supportive, so I don't do that very much, but I do. But we also, especially the kids who are weaker players, who are not very strong, we work on band music and lessons because that's a good learning tool for them and it's application in band, and so they're feeling better. And that means also with some of the weaker players, sometimes you're rewriting parts, you're simplifying, you're helping them understand that maybe you shouldn't play here when these really high notes. You're playing horn and it goes up to high B flat, and you really can't play high B flat. Maybe it's a place where you just let that go by and let Ashley play that, and then you come back in here. Okay, yeah. Make them feel good about what they're trying to do, and also give them value that what they're playing is important to our success. So no matter what part you have, no matter if we simplified it, something that 16th note, right? I said, we're just going to play every other note. We're going to cross this everything. But I need you to be the really rhythmic support for all these people who are playing 16ths. It's true.
It is true, yeah.
I'm not lying, but I'm also trying to help them feel better about what they're going to do and helping them feel like they're contributing. Then they feel like they're part of the group and that I'm not just sitting here,
Yeah. And it's relieving to those students.
It is.
It makes it playable to their level.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we 100% successful in that adventure? Of course not, but we try, And so that helps my band play better, helps them sound better. We'll go through all of that.
So do you like record your rehearsals or anything? Or, that's not a lot of time, after the warm-up. So, or do you just have a really good sense of, because you've been doing this for a little while?
At this point in my career, I basically hear everything. Not everything, but mostly everything. And so I do record at some point. And the purpose of that recording partly is mostly actually for them to hear, for them to identify. And so then I've increased the amount of ears in the room who are part of the process of improving, and they can hear what I've been talking about, because sometimes, when you're in the middle of the band, you don't hear what's going on for the whole thing, and then they hear the whole thing, and I said, and then we can identify what the strategies are for success following that. And so that's what we'll often do is that, okay, tell me what you heard. And so all right, so they're writing on the board. This is what we're going to do with this, and I have a list then, and that it'll stay on the whiteboard for a while. They say, these are the things we need to improve upon, to make this sound better in performance, And so when I was younger, when I recorded and listened to it, I was shocked. Boy, I sure thought they sounded a lot better than that, but they don't sound very good at all. But then it's a strategy of sitting and listening and really starting to stop and say, okay, and making your list. I still do that sometimes where I'm sitting myself and they're not listening to it, but I am, and I'm making my list. Yeah, I didn't like how that one here. And then I have a better work strategy for me. I have a better lesson plan. But at this point, I don't need that very much just because I've been doing it long enough. But there's still times when we're working on Movement for Rosa, that's a grade 5 piece, that's what we did for a large group. I had to record to listen to all the details, just because I can't get it all and conduct at the same time. So there's a case where I needed to, and then kids too. And that's a hard piece. So,
yeah.
Do you think your ability to hear well or hear better in rehearsal than you used to comes from just knowing the music that you're conducting at a deeper level?
Partially, yes. Certainly, I do some new stuff, but I also do things that we've done before because I like them. And we'll talk about some programming in a little while here about why I program. But yes, partially, but also when I'm just listening to a group, in fairness, when I know a piece really well, take, for example, Corral and Shaker Dance. I know that piece forward, back, and inside and out. When I'm listening to that, I can listen to it at a different level than I can of a piece that I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's just human, So I'm still hearing bigger concepts on pieces I don't know well. Are they playing in tune? Are they playing good ensemble? That's judging a large group. So that's what I'm doing there,
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody will walk in and play Corral and Shaker, which I heard last year, I think, when I judged. large group. Somebody played it. Not I heard jigger band here, but somebody else played it and played it really, really well. And so that was fun. But I was still able to make some commentary because I thought I know this. And, oh yeah, nice job with the dream sequence and all of that stuff. And here's how you can make this better and some of that stuff. More musical. So.
Do you have any, I guess when I record the band, I've been doing that a lot this last year, and it's weird how I'll think something sounds really good in rehearsal, and then I listen to it, and I go, oh, that's actually how it sounds, and, but then as you do that more, then when I hear that sound, I know, okay, that's how it sounds in the recording. So are there tools, or do you have what are your best tricks, or not tricks, but methods of hearing certain are there certain things that you're just really good at fixing really fast, or go-to tools for teaching? I don't know, it could be any concept, or that you find yourself saying over that work that are tried and true.
I don't know. I think it's you have to thin to hear, and so sometimes you're hearing. I just need to hear the flutes play. So you're hearing individual groups. Clarinets, let's play this group. Okay, then you can start hearing. Sometimes you just have to really get a lot less people playing so you can hear what's going on, in a part. And that's just basic rehearsal strategy. I'm not afraid to do that in individual parts. And then one of the things, of course, you always keep in mind is you don't spend too much time with everybody sitting on their heels. And so that's just classroom and band management, stuff. So figuring out how much you can go. There's this natural flow of a rehearsal, so if you want to really get work done, when do you do it? That's the first thing you do in rehearsal after the warm-up. You've got to get the really hard work, but then you need to find a way for them to feel okay toward the end. Not every day, but you try to make that the goal every day. So, you've got some work done. Okay, now let's take this bigger section. So, I'll talk about Movement for Rosa. This is a good example. So, we're started this piece. One of the great things in Movement for Rosa is there's a couple big sections that are just super awesome. First one's at 44 that I'm looking at right there. And so to sell the kids on this piece, I want to find a way for them to be successful and really embrace the musicality and beauty of this section. So when we're rehearsing, we're kind of running, but I'm focusing on this almost from the start. I want to get this section. Okay, let's go back to this section. So we're working on that. Well, then, in future days, okay, let's play the section on 44. Well, they start feeling like, hey, this is nice. Yes. Oh, I love this. It speaks to my heart. All that. So that really gets them so they feel good about it, the rehearsal. Now, I talked about sometimes it doesn't always go that way. Sometimes they need to end rehearsal where they don't feel very good about how things went. They need to embrace that it ain't good today. And there's some days that are terrible, and we all have them. And so if it's a really bad day, I don't want them hop, skipping, and punch out the room. I want them going out, this was not good. We need to do better. I think it's okay for you to have some strife and some pain and some struggle because that helps make the positive days that much better. It's a yin and a yang thing.
Do you decide that in advance of rehearsal, or it's a response to the rehearsal?
It's a gut reaction to how it's going that day, and there's at the end of rehearsal, I will say, ladies and gentlemen, we need to do better than this. This wasn't good enough today. Yeah. See you tomorrow.
Gosh, I'm sitting
and that's it.
And leave it
straight right now, just hearing you say that.
You know,
I want to do better.
What
can I do? What can I do?
And what's interesting is people say my personality is intimidating and all that stuff. It doesn't feel that way in my brain because I'm just talking point blank about what that, and I don't assign emotion to that. You know, I don't.
Observation.
Yep. You need to do better than this. We need to do better tomorrow. Well, now I have this personal relationship with kids that I've developed, and so they understand that, you know. So there are a few that are afraid of me, and I don't, that's just the way it is. And so we tried to work through that. I said, it's okay if you talk to me. Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's those students who know you, I imagine all pretty well know you. They know how to interpret your feedback, and where you say, yeah, maybe to the outsider, to the person who doesn't know you as well, yeah, I might come off as intimidating, but your students know how to take that in interpret it and respond to it.
Yep.
Yeah, I get that.
Yep, exactly. Because the goal is to play well and make great music and have a great experience. And that's the same goal for all of us.
And of course, they know that when you have something positive to say, there's meaning to that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't subscribe to the notion that kids should be rewarded for doing the things they know they should. I just don't believe in that. And you should do the things. I don't have many rules. I'm just a respect rule guy, and so that's what I used to have a whole handbook. I could have brought the whole band. I had all these different rules. We had all this stuff. I stopped using that years ago. The basic tenet is I expect you to respect people around you, respect me, respect your instrument, respect your space. Do what you know is right, and things will be great. But be respectful. If you're not doing that, then I'm gonna call you on that. And also, if you're not giving your best effort, I'm also gonna point that out. I'm not getting your best effort on this. We need to do better. I said we. I didn't say you. So we need to do better because I'm gonna try to help you. It's a group effort. So, anyway.
Yeah, I like that we. Yeah, we're all in this together. So you judge a lot. You're a large group judge a lot. I'm sure you do all-state judging too.
I don't. I used to do all-state auditions when my wife was 5'8" band and I was 9'12". Some years then, she would take care of my all-state kids auditioning, and I will go someplace else and audition for all-state. I love doing that. It's awesome. When I retire, I'm gonna love doing that. It's awesome. I also do chair auditions for all-state, which is really fun too. Yeah, hear great kids doing their best. It's just a positive day.
Yeah.
Well, it's that way when I do auditions for Allstate, too. It's a positive experience behind the door. That's going to be my goal with every single kid. They're going to walk out, feel like it was okay. They did their best, and it was positive. Not everybody embraces that concept, as we know, when they go audition. There's some people behind the door who are not as positive. But I want it to be positive because I know how it is for my kids. So it was always tough when you were not able to take quota. That's when you sort of want to get your car pretty fast. So, there was one time in South Central I did not take any euphoniums. When I took one, I had a quota of 2. How was that possible? Well, didn't meet the minimum standard. That's a really hard one. I had one on bass trombones over in Northeast one time. I didn't take quota on bass trombones. Only one kid auditioned. Didn't make standard. So I talked to one of the Cedar Rapids directors and says, we need to do something about that. We got to have some kids playing. I said, yes. Have some kids playing. Yes. So, anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to just kind of say when you're listening to younger directors, and I guess we could even extend this to listening to all-state, students, since it's kind of that season. But what are some things that the younger directors do that you wish that they would not do, or
cut it out?
So,
judging large group is maybe we can talk about that. That's where you hear that. The tricky thing about when you're judging large group is when I'm doing solo and ensemble judging, really I'm trying to provide adjudication for a student who's performing. When I'm judging large group, I'm providing adjudication for the director. Ultimately. Now you're judging kids, but ultimately the responsibility of how that all put together is the director's responsibility. Well, that's a little bit professionally difficult. I know a lot of these people and all that stuff. But to be fair, I need to provide the best adjudication I can for the kids, a tape they can listen to, that I'm providing musical stuff, all those things. What I hear from younger directors is programming choices are troublesome. They try to play too hard a music or music that does not fit their group, or they play too much. If you're a small school, you have a minimum time, you should just be a little bit over the minimum time. Just figure out that much music. And when in doubt, go easier, not harder, and work on the fundamentals of musicality and try to play in tune and play good together. Some of the finest little schools I've heard bands of 12 people who were awesome. But all those kids have been taught with their roles. The music was picked so they could play that, and those kids all embraced the concept. They played musically, played in tune. It was good. It's possible. Now, is that hard teaching? Yeah, that's hard teaching. And would I enjoy doing that? I don't think so. But you know what? That's part of that. So really looking for the right literature to play for your band. And again, I'll talk about programming in a little while, but that's the big thing I hear when I'm at large group. Solo ensemble that's not a big deal. I mean, most kids are playing stuff within their range. Not all. Sometimes somebody's playing something too hard, and they can't play it very well, and that's unfortunate. You know, but it's kind of a director's fault thing too, a little bit too. But sometimes it's circumstances. Sometimes the kid says, "I'm playing this piece. I'm going to play the Chaminade flute no matter what." Well, maybe we could find something a little. Maybe we could, play Mozart in G instead or something. Oh no, I'm playing Chaminade no matter what. Okay. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, have fun with that.
Here we go.
So
we've all been on the other side of that sometimes. So.
Yeah. Well, this might be a good segue then into the rocket science lab.
You talked about programming originally, correct?
Yes, I'd love to talk about programming.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep. So the most important thing that I do as a band director is selecting literature. It's the cornerstone of everything we do. Everything's based around what we're playing for pieces. It's not a process that comes quickly. You have to work at it a while, and it's okay if you get it wrong, as long as you figure out you got it wrong soon enough. So anyway, my goal, I teach in a small school, so again, my kids are really busy in lots of places, and they have lots of different things that pull at them. And so I know I get a limited amount of time and energy from them, which is probably the most important thing. And they're going to do the best they can with me, but we need to figure out ways to make that all happen. Learning how to play well with good intonation, good tone quality, good musicality, balance, blend, all of that stuff is a process. It doesn't just happen in a couple days. It happens year long. So when I program my December concert, I'm thinking May. So what am I going to do in December to help the process, help them learn, and help them get a hold of stuff and get concepts involved that help them really get better, so by the time we get to May, then I can play Movement for Rosa. Otherwise, we're never going to get there. It's not just about that piece, but it's about playing well as a band. So what I program for our December concert is I program sort of this method all the time for the concerts. I want music that I like. I'm not willing to spend time on music that I don't like very well. There's some great pieces out there, awesome stuff, but I don't like them. I'm not programming Persichetti. Persicchetti's awesome stuff, great music. I don't like Persichetti very well. It doesn't speak to me. It doesn't move me emotionally. And so I want to make sure I have some stuff that moves me. And unless I feel like that's really internalized, that I really can love working on this piece, then I'm not going to program it. The only way that I can sell it to kids that this is an awesome piece and have a chance is if I think it is. If I don't, it's a hard sell. So this is my December concert, opened with an opener. I want something that catches the audience. On this concert, our high school choir has already performed, and they do a nice job. Choir's a very different sort of performance than a band performance. It has a very different sound, different decibel levels, all of that stuff. Well, I want something that catches the audience right away. So I did Flourish for Doris John by Ray Vaughan Williams. It's a really cool fanfare that's written for, you could put lots of instruments in it. It's written with organ and all sorts of stuff, piccolo, trumpet. We don't use all that stuff. We just do some things. One of the things it does have a soprano sax part, which kind of duplicates the piccolo trumpet, but that really is a different sound. And then I went to Amazing Grace by Tekeli, which is really sort of the cornerstone piece of this program. The second piece is generally my real content one. And Amazing Grace is hard. It's really good. But again, I'm working on musicality, balance, blend, helping them be able to play in tune. Then I had a soloist, my high school clarinet player, senior, who was an all-stater, did the Fantasia Rondo by Weber, played that great. That was a bit of a hump for us to be able to play an accompaniment, because we hadn't done that at all this year, so the first time. British Eighth by Zoe Elliott, a nice march. That's a really nice march. I had a student teacher, so I had him work on that, conduct that. And then I closed with 3 Revelations from Lotus Sutra by Alfred Reed, The Rejoicing, which is pretty hard. Lots of technique, but Alfred Reed I love. I love how he shapes melodic phrases. I love how he puts layers together in the piece to make things really work, and contrary motion and all of that stuff. But that really pushes kids, technique-wise. because when you look at this, there's a lot of black notes here. You know, and so the first time the kids see that, and when I'm a believer that it's okay to play a recording for the kids, a professional recording the first time they hear it, they give them the big overview.
Same.
Not everyone agrees with that concept, by the way. But anyway, I do, and I always do. And so they'll say, and so there's some kids in the room, they hear that, and they think to themselves, there's no way in God's green earth we can play that. What is he thinking? What is wrong with him? So then it's work. So there's this repeated thing. The way I start this piece is the first thing I said, okay, I need all the upper woodwinds, alto saxos, tenors also, as well as the mallet instruments. I need you to play at measure 5. We're going to do this together. Ta-ta-ta, ta-ta-ta, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Okay, let's do it again faster. Ta-ta. All right, every time we have that in this piece, that's how it sounds. Got it? Yeah, okay, great. So then we do everything else kind of fits underneath that until you get up to over here at number 15, then the woodwinds have to go, well, I have some studs that can play that. They're going to almost sight read that. The younger players are going, oh my God. So then we're going to work on that slow. So that's my approach, but I want to do this so that we can play technique in the spring, okay? This year we made a recording to be selected to play at IBA. We were not accepted. There were no bands from Class 2A accepted this year, which, if you can tell by my tone, doesn't make me very happy. So we recorded Amazing Grace and the Three Revelations for that. And so, but again, I knew it wouldn't be 100% clean because we're in process of learning to play well by spring. Okay?
Big picture.
Big picture, right.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
You mentioned that one of the primaries for you is picking music that you love.
Mm-hmm.
That has risk of going south if that's your only preference, meaning there may be a band director who really loves the latest arrangement of Frozen.
Right.
So there has to be more.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, good.
And that's what, with all the literature I just picked up, that's all really good literature.
Yes, okay.
That fits my band.
Yes.
Right. And so,
okay,
yes.
Good. You just said 2 more things. That's great.
Yes. And that's what I'm looking at. I mean, the first component for me is I have to like it. Second one, is it great literature? 3, will my band be able to play it eventually? And there's the trick sometimes. Sometimes you get that right. Sometimes I do not.
Yeah.
I really wanted to play Fantasia in G by Timothy Marr on my spring concert. I worked on it a long time. We worked on it a long time. Woodshedding, all that. I got to the point where I had some kids in lessons, younger kids and other people playing it. And I had said, well, let's just hear the Fantasia. How are you doing here? Well, they weren't close. I had maybe 10% of my band that could play it. Well, that's your sign.
Yeah.
This ain't going to work. And so I bailed on that. And so we'll get to my spring concert in a minute, and you'll see what I did instead. A really good concert. All right. We have a concert in February. This is the parade of bands. So you have all of our middle school bands play, and then the high school band. I want a program here for the audience. Who's the audience? It's all these young kids. I want them to hear something that they go, wow, that's really cool. Well, I want to be in a high school band. I want my parents to please stay in a high school band. So I opened with the King March, Alhambra Grotto March. I love Carl King marches, by the way. As a euphonium player, I love Carl King marches. Sousa marches are very good. I love Carl King marches. Then my senior flute player, Kendall, played Chaminade with us, and that went very well. Then I did a piece by Robert Sheldon called A Longford Legend. I don't know if you know Longford Legend. You know that?
Yep.
Well, that's just cool because it's got a story and it's very programmatic, and you can. I have an announcer go through the whole story. I really like, and I try to get them to use a Scottish accent when they do it and explain it because that just kind of for the audience it's kind of fun. I'm trying to be real upbeat here, but again, that's all good learning stuff. Everything we've done, and then I closed with Africa Ceremony Song and Ritual by Robert W. Smith, which is a huge audience pleaser and lots of percussion, great horns. Again, I have some really good horns. And so I actually moved the horns backwards. I had them on the end, which I never do because I wanted that to be more bright and more directional. So I put them there, and I tried to kill off my first horn, but she made it all right. She's a 3-year all-state horn player. She'll be 4 here this year. She plays really well. You probably know Ashley. You probably not. Your son knows Ashley.
No, I bet he does.
Yeah, he does. So again, you see the scope of the program. Opener. Instead of putting the cornerstone piece second, I did the flute because she really needed to play the concertino by Chaminade before we played all the rest of this stuff, just for endurance.
Yep.
Okay? All right, so the big picture, we're still trying to advance. While I'm doing this, I'm also working on Muma Feroza. I've started layering in that place, and we work on it a little bit. In fact, there'll be like 3 days in a row where that's all I work on. But then we'll stop because we work on some other things. So I'm trying to layer in the big concept. It's a hard piece. Takes a long time for them to get their brain around what's happened. There's a lot of dissonance. There's a lot of details. It's really a lot of stuff going on.
When did you pick that piece?
Probably October, early on. I tried to pick my cornerstone piece, what I'm going to have as the final big piece for the spring early on, so I know that I want to put that in. So I usually put that in like after we get done with our December concert. That'll be like one of the first things to do. Okay, this is the piece we're going to be working on. And we just get to it intermittently, just a little bit, introduce it. If I'm going to play some really hard stuff that it's really hard cognitive for them to get their brain around, which that piece is, it's a lot. It's a long piece. It's a lot for them to do. They need time for develop. And again, it's long range thinking, big picture. I know there's some people who think that you're spending too much time on that, but I don't. I spend some time away, again, to help them just get internalized. So then we get the spring concert, and my program looks a little different this because I put program notes in this. And so we opened with this Fanfare Hayabusa, which I talked about already. We have this fantastic pianist, Henry Mauser, who will be a senior this fall. He played Rhapsody in Blue with the band. I have an all-state clarinet player, so she could play all the clarinet stuff. I have all the people in the right places to play all of the solos.
Fantastic.
And he just played the snot out of that. So we did that second.
Who's the arranger on that?
It's Longfield.
Okay.
Believe it or not. We misspelled it, too. Isn't that funny? I just saw that. Yeah. Anyway, it's a nice arrangement, actually. That's way playable for a band. It's not so nasty. It's not that long. One thing we did to make it longer is we let Henry play 2 cadenzas. There's 3 actually in the original. He did 2 of them, which were the original cadenzas, and fantastic. Putting it second on the program is a little weird, but it actually worked, and it was logistic because I had the piano set down front behind me, and we played the Fanfare Hayabusa first. And then we went to the Rhapsody in Blue. And so then we could move the piano back to the back corner of the auditorium where it needed to be. So then I did Rosa. And I did Rosa here because Rosa is not a closer. It ends really dark. It ends up really, dissonant, talking about racial strife. When I introduced the piece or movement for Rosa, and I talked to my principal about this too, just so he understood what I was doing, because in this political climate now you have to be careful about stuff that has racial overtones or has some kind of social message. I said, I'm playing this piece. I told the kids, we're playing this piece because I think this is a great piece of music. Now, here's the story and what it's based on, raised on Rosa Parks and all that stuff. But we never talked about any more of the social part of that because I didn't think it was necessary to make the music come alive. The music itself is worth it for me. So we want to talk about musicality and make music come alive because it's great music. Following that, Darkening, then I did Country Gardens by Percy Granger. It's the Tom Clark arrangement. It's lovely, light, a nice walk in the park. Mm-hmm. And then I close with one of my favorite closers, which I haven't done for a while, Trail of Tears by James Barnes. Do you know that?
I've heard of it, yeah.
This is a great, it's not that hard. It's like grade 3 plus. But we went through and the program notes have this, and then they actually have to speak in the native language in there. So they're going, Didashwak, Husha, and then they start yelling and all that stuff. And then the end, and the kids embraced it. You can just sense that they were, when we got to that final big brass blow and all that stuff, it was glorious. I got hair up my arms right now, just thinking about it. Yeah, I know, it was awesome. That's why I do this, it's because of this, Mm-hmm. And so this program was awesome. This is one of our best spring concerts we've had in a while. One of my top 5 probably in my career, just because the music really worked. We get started at the very start of this concert, and again, this is a concert we share with the choir. So the choir has done their stuff, and then we completely reset the stage with that. And we get kids we are in tuxedos, and we get out there and we run the tuning routine that we do for concerts and all that stuff. I come out, and the audience is supposed to applaud right away. They're a little slow, but they get there. And I start Fanfare Hayabusa, and I hear the sound. I go, oh, this is going to be good. Get to the fast part, and they were ready to rock. And that's the goal. You get to this, that the kid's ready to absolutely just play the heck out of everything that they're playing, and they absolutely did. Rosa went very well. It's hard when you played Rosa at large group, and then you got to come back and play it again later. It's hard for kids to get that energy up. So what I did at large group is I did Rosa first and then Hayabusa, because I wanted to make sure we're time-wise, because the cornerstone, the piece was Rosa, so we did that first. Then we did the Hayabusa, which was fun. So in this way, the opposite was really fun to have Hayabusa first. Awesome program, went great. We played great. The kids loved it. The kids were over the moon how well they played. You can just tell, you can see the pride. It's awesome. And parents, and Trail of Tears has that effect with people because it's very programmatic, and audiences really connect with that, and so do kids. So I don't mind doing programmatic music. Rosa's programmatic, but we didn't make it so. We made it about the music. Mm-hmm. So, okay.
Yeah, great. Do you got some IBA programs in there
I
too?
do. Let's talk about IBA.
Oh.
So what do you do at IBA? Well, you have a 45-minute concert. At times, people play too much. The very first time I played there, this is in 97. We played Procession of the Nobles. Then we followed that with Russian Christmas music. Okay. Then I had Randy Grabowski, trumpet soloist, play Carnival of Venice. Then we played the Buckfitch Symphony No. 1, Memorial Dresden. Played 4 movements from Ron Nelson's Choral Airs and Dances. And we closed with Robinson's Grand Entry.
That's a hefty program.
Yeah. And we played that well. Great. You have some memories. I remember the kids. My first trombone was Cassie. She was first chair in the All-State Band. She could play. Whew. Play. Yeah. She did for a solo with the band from the Shores of the Mighty Pacific, which is the euphonium solo. She played it on trombone. Serious technique. So we're playing the close. We're playing Robinson's Grand Entry, and I look over, and there's a lot. There's couple of the old directors sitting right in the front row from me to you, and she's just playing the shit out of that march. And these two directors, and those guys are sitting there, and they're just loving it. And I'm just, we're like that. That was awesome. Awesome. So that's the first program. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to talk about the failure in a minute, okay? Cool. All right. The second time was then 2000. So this is probably the strongest one we ever played. Opened with the Melody Shop by Carl King, which is a really hard march. Mm-hmm. Vesuvius by Tekeli. I did do you know the Ben Cresciuto Serenade for alto saxophone and band? Mm-hmm. That's a really lovely alto saxophone. If you need a soloist, the Ben Cresciuto is quite nice, a little jazzy, but quite good. Frank Ben Cresciuto was the former director of bands at the University of Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I had a high school student playing this. She was an all-state alto saxophone player. Played that. Then did a lovely piece called English Country Settings by Pierre Laplante. It's 2 movements. It's lovely. Nice piece of fresh air. Then did something weird. Did the Exodus song. The Exodus song. And it's Ernest Gold, and it's almost it's movie music. And that was and people said, that was kind of random. Yeah, but it was nice, and I like it. And then we closed with Armenian Dances 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Again, played it. This was a great program. Band was big. I had it at 110 at one point when enrollment was higher. Wow. And all that, and before lots of other things started pulling at kids. So then we get to the failure year. Okay, and I'll show you the failure year. This is what happens if you overprogram. I did the Purple Pageant.
And this is an 03?
Yeah. Okay. And then Muma for Rosa. I had Jeff Funderburk from UNI played tuba concerto with us, the Colonel. Oh. Marching the Belgians Paratroopers. By the way, I don't really like that tuba concerto by Colonel, but it was fine. Did March of the Belgian Paratroopers, October, which was wonderful, and then closed with Polka and Fugue from the opera Schwana the Bagpiper by Weinberger. Do you know that? Yeah, right. Yeah, we had no business playing that. And so I got to the end of that, and I'm looking and I'm watching the kids and the trumpet players, and they're trying. What happened was, if I had the kids every day and not have things pulled away from them from March to May, we would have got there.
Mm-hmm.
We would have been able to play this. But what I learned there was, you will not have your kids from March to May. They're gone for track, they're gone for tennis, they're gone for all of these things that are important, and they will be gone. So don't plan on that. The other thing I discovered is, if you don't play very well at IBA, no one talks to you. I was alone for the rest of the conference.
Oh
no.
Oh, yeah. It's very judgmental. So you have to be prepared mentally and to be able to handle that when you're there, you are being judged. You got a whole room full of people who all are critics. Some are very positive and very supportive. Some are less so. My band could play that better. Well, maybe it can. And so then after that, I learned my lesson.
Submit a tape.
Yeah. So the next time we played there.
In 06, which I think we should note, this is 97, 2000, 2003, and 2006, which means that you weren't eligible.
Right.
And you made it the first year that you were eligible.
Right. We had a streak going. We opened with American Overture for Band by Jenkins, because I think I had, I don't know, 8 or, I mean, horns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I had 8 horns, and they could play. Yeah. You know, this is a large band. Interesting piece by Stephen Milo, Escape from Plato's Cave. Do you know that at all? That's interesting. The second movement, Message of the Man, the Fragile Heart, is cool. It calls for 2 synthesizers. It's a really interesting work. I did it a large group, too. I haven't done it since. It just sort of fit. The Bourgeois Serenade, Opus 22C.
It's like what, 11/8?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
That's right, yes.
Cyrus the Great. Do you know Suite of English Folk Dances by Tomlinson? Do you know that?
Mm-mm.
It's originally an orchestral work, and it's been done for band. I think it's tremendously awesome. Wonderful music, beautiful stuff. We did 4 movements. Jenny Plucked Pears, 10-Pound Lass, Hunt the Squirrel, and Woody Cock. Funny titles that you just got to get past with the kids. You know, you do. And then
what a chart.
And then I closed with The Great Gate.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But this program was successful.
As I say, you're not afraid of the orchestral transcriptions.
No, I love orchestral. It's great music.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
Yep. And then finally, the last time we played, nope, not quite. Sorry.
No.
I missed.
We're not on 6 yet.
Yeah, which way? 2013. Let's go here. This is the last time I played. And so...
Did we just do 2009?
We did. What I do in 2000, I don't even remember what to look. In Flight by Hazel, which is a great opener. Mm-hmm. Watchmen Tell Us the Night by Camp House, which is harder than Rosa for kids to get their brain around. It's based on child abuse as the subject matter. I'd have a hard time doing that now. There's so much of that's become more public, and you got kids in the room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's just hard.
Mm-hmm.
I have my wife play solo with us. She's a bassoonist. She got her master's in bassoon performance from UNI. She did the Fantasia by Bear. It was transferred by Kevin Cashins at Iowa. He did it with the Iowa band a few years before that, and I asked her, why don't you do it? So we did. Invictus by King, one of my favorite King marches. Pavane by Morton Gould. It's really cool. And then a nice piece called Gallop by Charles Roster Young, which is a closer. So none of this is terribly hard. The level's not as hard here because I'm figuring what's going to make it work, and it went well. Mm-hmm. And it's finally the last program we did here, which is 2013. The Music Makers by Alfred Reeder is my opener. I love that overture. Rest by Tekeli. You guys done Rest?
I haven't done it. I know it though.
Right.
Yeah.
The crescendo in there is just tremendous. Love it. Then I did Holst, first suite. Okay. Humble Grotto by King. Charm by Kevin Poots, which is just a cute piece. And then I closed with the Shostakovich Gallop. So, good literature, transcriptions, original band, awesome piece. My best memory of this concert, there's a lot of them, but one of them is I'm out in the lobby before the concert, and there's a guy out there, an old guy, and he says, he introduced himself. He says, yeah, I'm Roger Maxwell. You probably don't know me. He says, I wrote a book. I said, 14 Weeks to a Better Band. I said, you're going to come hear this concert. That's what we use. So he was in the front row. He was crying by the time we were done. That was awesome. You moved somebody, but it made it personal to him.
What a memory.
I know. Awesome. And I said, that's one of the reasons we play rhythmically well is because of your book. So thanks for writing that. Hope you enjoyed the concert. And he did. It was great. It was good. The concert went really well. So that's the frustration not being here this year, because you see what I did for a spring concert. That would have been an IBA program.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was good.
And so what is the tape looking like for each of those? Like, what do you have a philosophy of, are you putting in, like, are you doing something everybody knows on the tape, or?
I'm not afraid to do something everybody knows. I'm going to play pieces I think we can play well, and I'm going to put them on tape. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not trying to. I program good literature in December because I want us to grow for the year, and I'm hoping we play it well. But I do record for IBA in December. I don't wait till January to try to do that dance because weather will kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I got nipped on. That's why we have a change of rules. Is because of me. There's a year we had all that, and because I was late getting in because I couldn't get the band there because of weather. So I'm talking to the IBA Vice President-elect. I said, if you can let us get a recording in, you will be appreciative. So they extended it some days because of weather. We made it that year. But then they changed the rules. This is the deadline, but everything's electronic now. So, and I did use a professional recording. I used Rick Chitty he does the All-State concert. I had him record us here this last December. And he does a nice job. He's good microphones, good equipment. It's a good quality recording. He does a nice job. He's not cheap, but.
Do you always do that?
I have not. I have done some of my own recording because, I have digital recorder and I have, I think, decent microphones, but he's got really nice microphones, really nice. So, So if I decide to record this year, which I'm not certain that's true, I probably would hire him again, and if I can get him there.
Yeah. So do you record if you have the band, or it sounds like you record if you have the band? You don't just like record every year just to kind of go through that.
Yeah, I do
and
not.
just do the best you can.
Right. I picked the year I think it's going to work, and one of the things I'll do here at the beginning of years, our first day of school is a Friday, and so we're going to do goal setting on the first day of band, and we're going to talk about. So we did this process last year, and the kids don't know that they didn't take anybody from Class 2A. I didn't tell my band. I just told them we didn't make it because that's true. I didn't lie to them. I just didn't give them all the information. They didn't need to know that, and so that'll be one of the things. Is that a process you wish to do again? And I'll see how they feel about that. I think yes, and then we'll think about that. I'll probably put it on the goal, but we'll see. I'll see how they sound. I don't know how they sound yet.
Do you use those recordings for archival purposes? Do students have access to it? Is there another outcome from that process?
Not really. You know, it is what it is. I mean, I still have them right now. I have them. A few colleagues have asked to listen to them. I've actually sent to a couple colleagues to listen to, and that's dangerous too. You have to be pretty brave to send out your IBA recordings to somebody else, because what if they don't think they're very good? So
gets personal.
I'm pretty. It is. I'm pretty judicious about that.
Yeah.
So I just don't throw them out there.
Yeah. Well, that's wild that it makes you nervous, even though you've made it like.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. Oh yeah.
What makes us feel better?
Yeah. Okay. So you said you're going to goal set with them. So with this first week of school coming up in a couple weeks, do you have like what's your first? What are the first things you like to do with your band to kind of set the trajectory of the year?
Well, we'll marching band, of course, next week. And so we get some basic things going there where, but these kids have all had about middle school. They know what we're going to do in rehearsal, so all that's established. The rehearsal department is there won't be any problems there. We'll get through all that stuff. We'll goal set on that first day. We'll talk about what we're going to do. We'll talk about what happens with marching band because our first game is the following Friday, and so we'll talk about that's basically we'll do a lot of business and stuff like that. Get them lockers and talk about that. We'll be doing lessons at some point. I don't do lessons for the first cycle for obvious reasons, and then we get them established and then just talk to them a little bit. And we don't too crazy, If we were starting on Thursday, I would do it on Thursday and Friday. We would be outside marching, but with the first day, just one day, it's okay. And will it be a little tight in that first game? Yeah. And what I'll do on the first game for us, for marching band, is we'll do our full pregame show. So I always start with Host of Freedom down the field. We have a drill we do for that. It's basic Moffat drill. And then we go to, I have another patriotic, this year it's Battle Hymn. I actually have 4 different pregame drills that I do that are easy drills, but they're always a patriotic tune. This Battle Hymn this year. So we'll teach that. So we'll do that in the first game. So they come out with Host of Freedom, Battle Hymn, Star Spangled Banner, School Song, and 7 Nation Army. Dum, 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 bum, bum, bum. That's how we go off the field. And so we'll learn all that stuff. Then for halftime, we'll do 1 drill and the flag feature, stand in place, flag feature. So, and we'll have all that put together for the first game, and
that's plenty.
It's a lot. Will it be a little rough? Yes. But the freshmen have to get through that first game. That's the huge hump for them. Because they're so nervous that they're going to go the wrong way. They got uniforms to deal with. They're going to be out here, and there's these people. I mean, it's just huge overload for them. So we're just going to help them get through, force them through that first game, get through, and then say, hey, nice job, you guys have made it. Way to go. And it's all a successful night. And so.
Yeah, and is that pregame the same? Has that been the same? Like, it's one of those 4? Okay.
Yeah.
Just keep.
Yeah, Mike Peterson wrote all 4 of those drills, and I have them all in Pieware now, but yeah, and Host of Freedom wrote. It's basically, we come down the field and we do an entrance and come out in 2 lines down the field, go kind of shift, come back to a big diagonal across thing, and so that's the setup. It's very military-like. The idea is we want people, when they come to a home football game at Sawyer Field, to go, oh, I'm at Sawyer Field. This sounds the same as it always has sounded. Yes. And it feels the same. I'm at a home game in Osage. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. And then at halftime, we're doing Bon Jovi, so we'll do that. The flag girls are going to do something to bag girls, because why wouldn't they? So.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, this has been awesome. Thanks
Thanks.
for driving over.
Thank you
You
so
bet.
much.
Yeah, I probably talked too much, but
No,
you get me started.
This was great.
Yeah.
So this was awesome learning from you, and we look forward to seeing you at all of the other functions we see you at.
Yep.
So this is Planet Band.